Just like T said, everybody want to be Captain Save a Ho. When you do Captain Save a Ho, then you also put yourself in a predicament. So it's okay to put your foot down and say no. They will, like T said, they will find a way. When you tell them no, somehow, some way, they're gonna make it work.
Welcome back to another Palm Wine Central podcast episode. I am one of your hosts, Uncle AK. Got my co-host with me, Tutu T. How you guys doing? Happy Tuesday, Tutu.
Hi, happy Tuesday. Hello.
Happy.
Happy Tuesday, y'all.
How y'all doing? How y'all feeling, man? You guys had a good 2 weeks off?
No. Oh, yeah. Yeah. My bad.
2 weeks off. Lucky you.
You indifferent, T?
I didn't take no 2 weeks off, so.
It was given to you now. Did you have a good one off?
What you talking about 2 weeks from here, the podcast?
Yeah, the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was nice to have my time back.
Okay. Anyways, moving forward. We got returning guest, beginning with CJ. How you doing, bro?
AK, respect.
Welcome. Brock.
Thank you.
How you doing, bro?
We're doing well. We're doing well. We're good.
Yeah, so Joe, there you go. God damn. Joe, how you doing, bro?
I'm all good, man. I'm all good. I can't complain.
Yes, sir. Man, let's get into it, man.
Oh, dang, like, why you always like to skip yourself? Like, how are you?
I'm good. I'm great. Can't complain, man. Happy to be back, I did have a fun 2 weeks off, you know what I mean? It was nice to not touch a computer, not record. So it was pretty nice to, just unwind. So I did enjoy that. So gladly appreciate you guys for that.
Awesome. Glad to hear everything.
Now we can jump into it. Let me go. There we go.
This is why you needed your co-host back.
AK, you couldn't have done without Tutu.
Yeah, that was nice. That was nice.
You know what I mean? All right, man. You guys mentioned something about the black tax. I don't even know what that is. So, to begin with, I want somebody to define what a black tax is. What is a black tax? I think Barack, you might probably know this one. I beg, Joe, what is black tax? Can somebody help us with that one?
I swear, I think I'll pass it to CJ. He's good at explaining.
I'll have to defer. I don't have much context into it. I heard it floating around a couple of times. I'm like, you know what? What is that about? Like, what are the real, like, what's that about? So, I'll have to defer this until I get more details about it.
Joe, you got this?
Joe, right. Joe, what about you? What do you think?
I'll jump in. I'll go with at least my understanding of it is just financial burden that's placed on you by your family members or maybe even extended family, just based on expectation that you will be able to provide for them in their times of need, if that's a broad definition of how I understand it.
Pretty much, yeah. So with that in mind, let's start like this with an icebreaker, right? We'll go around and I want each and every one of us to tell us about, the most expensive black tax payment you've ever had to make. And I'm not talking about money, or not just money, right? I don't know if time, you paid in kind. I don't know, something, you know what I mean? Like, let's talk about that. I think, Barack, let's start with you. You mentioned something in the past episodes about, when Pops left, people calling you from home saying, yo, hey, man, we need you to help here, there. And being that you're the chop cupboard for your house, sometimes you have no choice but to actually give. And so what's your own?
It's funny. Thank you started with me, though, because I have a long list. Actually, my dad passed away in 2009, and ever since I've had black tax on my head, like literally. It's like inherited debt, right? that gets passed from generation to generation. Whether you like it or not, intentional or unintentionally, right? But the one that really amazed me was the fact that after my dad passed, this was like 2 years ago, a reverend father or a priest, right, met me and said, "Hey, my dad had promised him to a belt, and I had to buy that belt for him." That belt led to me dropping $1,000 as a way of saying thank you for all you've been to us. I can't tell you how it got to $1,000, but that's what it ended up. I ended up. So I promised him that money, and he followed me around. Meaning, he went to my sister, told my sister about it, told my mom about it, that I promised him some money, and I gotta have to live up to that promise. So yeah, that's. But before then, I've had black tax on me for like ever since I was probably like, I'll say 22-ish, 23. And it was, some of them are good. Don't get me wrong, some of them are actually good. Like, it teaches you to be responsible, it teaches you to give back. It's almost like charity. However, I think it's a rope that gets pulled so long that it needs to be cut. It's like that umbilical cord that has to be cut. And I think we really have to talk about it. Where, my dad had siblings, and those siblings have kids, and we kind of inherit the responsibility of taking care of those nieces and nephews. I'm like, how? Cousins, who's nieces and nephews? I'm talking about my cousins. So it's almost like you feel bad for them that they can't make enough money back home, and you don't want this new generation to suffer. So you kind of have to chip in here and there, when you see fit. When they call somebody sick, somebody needs help, they might be lying. They have lied so many times. Where we'll send money and they'll be at the bar drinking, or they'll take the money and do something else. So it's really bad, and I don't want my kids to inherit that at all. I really don't.
We're gonna get into it, to that last piece that you mentioned there. But thanks for sharing. Tutu, you were shaking your head there, noting that you don't see why you're being taxed, eh? What do you know about black tax?
Huh?
I said, what do you know about black tax?
I mean, the same thing that basically Joe explained, just kind of being like the financial burden, or not even a financial burden, but just kind of being a burden when it comes to like family ties or things like that. I say for me, I think it's, in a way I could kind of relate, but I can't relate. I think in two different aspects, coming from the American side, me being African American, whereas like I don't necessarily deal with the black tax in a sense. You get what I'm saying? Because I don't know, my thank God will and thankfully my parents are still alive, and they're still providing for their family, but it's never been like when I pass, or not saying that it's supposed to be like that, but when I pass, or because I do this, you need to do this for your family members. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if I do something, it's because I want to do it. So, but it's never been I've been doing this, I've been paying, because like, for instance, my dad pays for his nephews and nieces school fees. There's, everybody's calling, can you help me with this? I need your support of this and that. But it's never been a situation where it's like, oh yeah, this is what the situation is going to be for you. So I can't really say. I don't think I haven't experienced that, I guess I could say.
Okay. Joe.
Tutu, when was the last time you went back to Salo?
21.
Okay. Do you have any cousins or relatives that you talk to constantly?
I do. So with that, like, I do have the cousins that call me. I'm like, oh, can you send me this? Can you send me an iPhone? Can you send me this and that? And it's like, if I got it, cool, I'll help you out. But I don't think it's necessarily my responsibility to do that. You get what I'm saying? Like, it's not. And sometimes when that happens, I'll be like, okay, cool. If I got it, then I'll help you out. But then I'll also complain and be like, bro, tell your cousins then that their kids is doing too much. Like, I shouldn't have to be, I guess, providing for them, because at this point we all trying to make it. So it's just like, you sitting here and I'm taking on, I guess, the black tax. of my parents because of their kids. But I mean, there's been times.
Yeah, the reason I asked is because I want to put context to what I mentioned, right? With having siblings or cousins back home. These are cousins that we literally grew up with, like from childhood to like, teenagers.
Oh,
So
see,
we kind of like almost like brothers and sisters in house, right? Where their parents are gone. They don't have, they really don't have a mom and a dad. Where it's that scenario. It's not like you're mandatory to do it. It's more of you feel the need to do it because it's pity more. You feel sorry for them that none of them have really gotten good jobs or are doing well in life. However, we're still paying for their bad mistakes. Don't get me wrong, because they've had kids out of wedlock, kids that they don't have husbands, or they'll just come hit and run, and they have kids out of wedlock, and we feel bad for those kids that we don't want them to suffer. So we step in. It's not like you're forced to do it. No, we're not forced to do it at all. It's
yeah.
just sympathy.
Okay. Well, yeah. In that aspect, then no, because it's like it's like my mom's cousins or sisters, their kids. You get what I'm saying? It's not like we're actually like obviously we're related, but not like how you said like we grew up together and stuff. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like if it's something that you have a choice over, then it's no longer black tax. Because in my understanding, black tax is an obligation. So it's not something that you decide whether or not you get to do. It's what my understanding of black tax is. Now, if you're helping family out when you can, then that's just helping family out. Do you get what I'm saying? That's my understanding of what black tax is. It's just an obligation that is placed on you because you are maybe you're financially more stable. And
Oh, yes. Yeah, I totally agree with you though. On my end, it's a little bit different because I'm my dad's successor, right? So it's technically what he was doing before he passed away. So I kind of inherited that by default, right? Not only that, but I also take care of my grandmom, which is, my grandmom, that one is a black tax. I can literally bet you that is a black tax. I have to send that money. Even if I feel comfortable doing it, I have to. And some of it, I look at it as a blessing in disguise. So there are two ways to it, right? Where even though you know it's a black tax, it's still blessings on your head, where you get things happen in your life and you don't understand why they do happen. Like you've never had an accident, you've never lost a job, or life just moves smoothly. You think it's just by your grace of God, by your will. Lie. There is some force, praying and intervening for you at some point. However, the negative part is it's not right, right? I should not be spending money to take care of my grandmom when she has kids, because I still have my aunt that is still in the US and my uncles that are still back home. But the question now is, are they putting a gun to my head to do it? No. However, my brothers don't do it. I have siblings. My younger brother does not even know what it means to send money back home. Even if you require him to, good luck. He will never get to them. So it's on my end, it is a black tax on my head based on the role that I play when it comes to my family. Yep. That's the only reason why.
So your title, is that considered
That's a good point. That's a very good point.
being that you inherited being that
Yeah.
you're the head of the family now, does that come with the territory, or do you consider that as being black tax?
Look, as young as I am, how can I be the head of families that are 50, 60 years older? People that are 45 years older than me, people that are 30 years older than me. It's a weird position to be put in, right? But it's a cap that you have to like learn to wear it, even though you might not like it. But by our African tradition that I'm still learning, because I don't know the tradition too well, because I've moved away from that tradition. I came here when I was 12, man. How do I can't even relate to what black tax even means. It's something that you just learn to do and you just do it, literally.
I have a question. Are people still gonna go around? I'll ask after everybody goes. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Let me stop
Not gonna
talking.
happen.
I might be.
It's something that they guilt you into doing.
I agree. They really do.
Even though it might be, like you say, sometimes for the best or whatever, but it's something I'm not obliged to do, but then I feel guilty if I don't do, and then they
Yes.
manipulate me into doing it.
Yep. Mhm.
So
The only the only thing I'll add is just as far as a different perspective. Listening to you hear you say that, it reminds me of what my dad would often tell me. It's like indirectly, but also saying it directly, like you will be the next in line. You know what I mean? Whether it's being the glue of the family or the responsible one. And sometimes it comes with, a degree of character, like you were saying, where it almost feels like you're chosen to do this, or it's something that's placed on your head, whether it's a blessing in disguise of sorts, where you're just that kind of person. You're the person who's able to not only withstand it financially, but even in terms of character. So it's an interesting dynamic, because then it's like, are we still talking about black tax and it's a black culture thing? Does it go beyond that, where it's something, I don't know if you want to say spiritual or just a life component, where certain things that are placed on you that seem like a burden are also things that only you in that particular circumstance could handle. So it's one of those things. In the way that I try to think of it sometimes for myself, when I think about that being a possibility, even though I don't even know if I can say fortunate to where it's not forced, but I think about it because someone will have to do it to some extent. I then start to think about, well, what can I do, even if it's planting a seed in siblings or someone else in the family, different generation, to how do we build some sort of asset base to where we can self-sustain these needs within the family beyond it just being someone's responsibility, to where it's a family responsibility, to where it's shared and we're actually taking care of each other. That's the sort of pipe dream, right? Because it takes someone within a generation to start that and to make it happen. It then takes successors to build upon it. So it's a lot more complicated than it sounds, because it takes time, decades. Like you said, you're young, 30, 40 years from now is when that seed might grow, to where, it's no longer just on one person. It's a interesting dynamic, but I always try to look at it from a different perspective of, if this is the circumstance that's placed on me, what can I do to be able to bear it, or so that someone else doesn't have to bear it as well. So
I've seen situations where I feel as though the pops did the parts of judgment, passing that baton, right? And they pass it to the most problematic of children. And now they can't resolve nothing, like conflict resolution, out the window. They're probably selling the land, situations like selling all the land in the house, things like that. So I don't know if I want to say, whoever, wears that cap, if they're being taxed per se, even though it might seem that way, I want to just say that it's one of those things that, if you want to be spiritual, like they say, you are a blessing in disguise to the entire fam. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I would love to see it. Because again, they say, to whom much is given, much is expected. So somewhere like Barack, there's millions in his pocket, and he has to share them. So yeah.
There's no millions here. No. So here's the thing too, right? My dad never opened his mouth and said, "Hey, you're going to be my successor." That's one thing I've never heard from him. So it wasn't pressured on me. It was kind of ordained. Like, family literally stood up and said, "That's who we think should be." So Joe, you're right, man. Like, the things that come to you, you don't know how they get to you. But because I was still young, because my dad died in 2009. I was barely in my early 20s, so I did not even know what that meant, me inheriting that burden from him. I'm not gonna lie, it's a burden. It's an inherited debt, right, that gets passed to you. I honestly don't know it. I still don't know it right now. I'm just taking it with a grain of salt, right? I'm like a sponge right now, soaking it in and trying to make sense out of it. But honestly, it is a black tax. in
Okay,
that.
so sorry. To before we move on to the, because that literally just, I have a question for all. Well, this is the American side coming out. Okay, devil's advocate. Okay, so I guess you can say, when does it stop? Like, why y'all can't say no? I guess they would call it the defiant side or whatever. But like, when will y'all say, like, Barack was talking about some, like, he's the one that does it. His sibling, his brother doesn't even do it. There's other people that do it, but I mean, obviously they chose you for a reason. But it's like, I don't know. I feel like maybe people have a choice to say no, and it's like, if you say no, what is it? Does it lead to? Because I know sometimes whenever I do stuff for like my family back home and stuff like that, they'll always be like, okay, God bless you, God bless you. Like, it's all those prayers and things like that. So is it because, oh, we're doing it because, it's the blessings and the prayers and all the other stuff? But if we say no, are we still not going to get prayers and blessings? Like, I'm confused. Why not? When are we going to say no? When are we going to be like, okay, enough is enough? Why can't we pass the baton to somebody else?
And that's a sneaky part of all
Yeah.
of this, right? Because it's always given to somebody that has a big heart. Number one, it's
Yeah.
always that for them to choose you, or for them to sit and think it should be you, or is this person right? There's always a reasoning behind it, and the reasoning is that person has either this they have a good heart, or they have the mindset that they know they'll probably do right even when things fall apart. It's more of like the bridge that brings the family together, literally. Like, if the family is falling apart, they say, hey, who is this one person that we can bring to the table, right? That can bring all of us together to make it work. That's really where it starts. However, Tutu, for your question, I'm not gonna lie, it's hard. That's a hard question. And the reason why is there's guilt to it. There's a level of guilt to it where if I wake up and say, I don't want to do it, I'm gonna throw my hands up like I don't want to do it. The first person that comes knocking? My mom. Yep. So mom is going to be in my ear and be like, your dad used to do blah, 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 blah. So there's guilt to it. So she kind of guilt treat you. It's an African culture um, issue that we really have to address. You're right. It's something that we really have to stop. And you're right. Somebody really has to put their foot down and be like, nope, not on my watch. I'm not doing it. It's a family. All of us come together and solve this problem, and not just put the blame on one person, or somebody's that king or queen that needs to spearhead it. Yep.
Yeah, I don't know. If anybody else wants to chime in, because I just really think it's weird, because just like my dad is like, for his side, is like the person that everybody goes to. But then he has his brothers and nobody would do nothing. And I'd be telling him, like, you ain't got to do it. And then he'll be looking at me like, you American kids, y'all don't know nothing. And I'm just sitting here like, you complain about it. You complain that it's all this burden, all this pressure, all this other stuff. And you over here trying to make ends meet. But then you also got to provide for families back home. And then you provided for your family here. It's just like, you have all these siblings and all these family members, and ain't nobody saying nothing. So when will you actually be like, all right, y'all, I'm tired, I'm done?
The truth about, well, the unfortunate part about all of that is, unless you're one of those people, there's no way that it can be explained for you to understand. And this is not me trying to be coy about it, right? There's a lot of things that are attached. These things are calculated. They start planning you from when you're small, from when all of you are babies. They already know who's going to be what. They already know who they're going to give that to. They groom you unconsciously, and you don't even know it till you're grown. Now this is rooted in your beliefs. This is rooted in your habits. This is engraved in your mind. There's the guilt aspect that you feel as well. It feels like you're letting them down. Oh, they put all this effort in you and they did all this. And now what am I? I can't just turn my back on it. It's a well calculated strategy. So unless you're one of those people, to be honest, it's easy to just say, I'll put your foot down. It's not as easy as that. So unless that person carries that burden, somebody would not understand. It's just the basic way that I can put it. And To be fair, I have been in a position where I have said no, and guess what? These people survived. I'm not gonna lie, I was shocked. I was like, wait, y'all can survive? Now I have a different perspective on the other side. Now I still have that guilt. I still have that going for me, but I'm putting parameters because and you're right, at some point you kill yourself doing this thing. And so I am making conscious decisions now to set parameters around that. You people will not kill me. And guess what? Y'all will be fine because if I'm gone today, they will keep on living and they will have their needs met. That's something that we forget to tell ourselves. They will have their needs met. So everybody is going to fall in line. I'm not trying to kill myself over none of that.
Yeah, let me add something here. T, first of all, I agree with you 100%. But before I add that, Bart, first of all, may your dad's soul continue to rest in peace. Okay. So here's one thing about, here's my perspective, right? And that's where, we as, I'll say the next generation, all right, have to kind of like evaluate everything and these responsibilities, especially, I'll just say these financial responsibilities and financial obligations, okay, to our family members, back in Africa. So it's like, how do we not only prioritize, but how do we change that mindset of where I have to be responsible for everything, whether it's, and that whole thing is like prioritizing when we send money back to Africa, right? Like is there a way to actually measure that the funds that you send back home is actually used for what it's supposed to be used for? Okay. And not only that is like, okay, how do you prioritize emergency funds that you send or monthly or like recurring funds, for upkeep? Okay. And the other part is, if you don't spend, the truth is, from what T said, is they will always survive. Okay. And keep in mind is, it's like those who are demanding these funds from you. So it's like, there's to me is I see that there's that sense, there's that entitlement mentality, about from where there's as if they're entitled to what you earn. I think that's where that whole black tax that portion of, from what I understand now, is they're entitled to that certain percentage of your income where you have to send it back home. So it's like, and if you don't spend, Barak, you mentioned something about guilt, where you feel that guilt that, because I have not spent, it means, it's like I feel bad, or, it's like you've not lived up to that responsibility that has been placed on you. So, I would say you shouldn't see it that way, because it's like, everyone is going through whatever they're going through, and it's like, what if the times where you're not capable of spending in a particular month, okay, for whatever reason? It's like, are they going to like keep on calling or just blowing up your phone that, hey, they haven't received anything? So I say that's where that entitlement mentality comes in. It's like, you've not sent any money back home, they're entitled to it, you haven't sent it, what's going on? Without asking you like, hey, is everything okay? How's work? How's, whether you have a business, how's your business thriving? How's it going? Is there anything I can do to help, to assist? Okay. If those questions don't come up, if they don't care about you, your family, your work, or your business, or if they don't care, all they care about is the first message that you get is, hey, what's up? I haven't received anything. Are you going to send? Then that's a problem. Okay, so it's like, it just boils down on us. It's like, how do we change that? How do we put our foot down and reevaluate this whole thing of like, okay, how do we prioritize spending money every month versus spending money when there's an emergency, okay, back home? So that's, those are my 2 cents.
Yeah, CJ. No, honestly, I think you nailed it there. And I think this has been this whole black tax. I think almost every typical African WhatsApp family group has this issue on speed dial in that group circling. Somebody dies. How do we contribute money to send? That's usually what I think. That's the biggest one that really starts from when somebody passes away, right? It's almost like you have to pay dues to the people that are gone to help to either provide food, provide burial arrangements, provide, whatsoever it takes for that person's burial to be successful, right? So honestly, it's really tough. Like T mentioned, right, where it's not only the people back home, but the ones that are here with you, right? That grew up back home, it's like your moms, your aunts, that some of the people back home might not even reach out to you directly. They might reach out to your dad or your mom or your aunts, right, that are in the US and complain to them. And what they do is they point fingers towards you. I had my aunt come to me so many times, and somebody will ask her for something, she reroutes it to me to collect money. So what she's doing is it's almost like a manipulation, honestly, where she'll come to me and say, "Hey, this so and so is sick. What is your contribution?" And it got to a point where it's almost like she's moving your finances to make it seem like she's covering it for on her end. It's really bad. I'm not gonna lie, and it's a battle that we've been fighting for so long, where we can argue about it, we can fight about it, but it keeps looping back where we've talked about it in the family group and say, hey, maybe we need to create like some resources back home for them to do businesses where they don't have to keep calling us. For instance, like my grandmom that is ill, she's really in her 90s right now, where she needs an eye surgery done. Usually, the money always comes from the US to provide that. If that money does not come from the US, she'll die. Literally, it's at that level where if we don't provide those resources from our end, it's a high chance she's not going to leave. Because the ones back home, either they're selfish or don't make enough money, or they don't have the resources to even chip in to make it happen. That's just our reality, and that's my reality. And I think it's something that we definitely have to talk about it and share ideas and open up and see where we can solve this problem, because it's really an ongoing issue, and I really don't want my kids to inherit that because it's bad. It's really bad.
So speaking of that, right? Is it ever because you say no? And if so, like, how do you handle the emotional fallout, right, from family, back home or here at that? And as we discussed that as well, let's also talk about how do we draw boundaries between, support and enablement. Joe, you want to take this one first?
I was almost going to pass it to because she sounds like she's the person who knows how to say no and how to deal with it. But to be honest, I haven't had to deal with that too much for myself. I've only had one or a handful of occurrences where that was an obligation that was placed on me. And unfortunately, I'm the kind of person that's difficult to say no, because just how I was raised, and maybe there's a little bit of guilt trip prone habits and things like that. But when I was listening to the conversation overall, it seems like there's kind of only two options. It's either you continue to do it or find a way to actually have to say no, because it's the only thing that's actually going to break the cycle. Just like you're saying, people can be stuck in loops of arguments, and they'll always come up with a valid reason that they think why it still needs to be done, et cetera, et cetera. And going back to what Therese was saying, like, people only realize that this is no longer their source when that person cuts ties. And then it now forces them to say, still within that sort of almost hustling mentality, like, okay, I need to find another way to make this happen. And they will then find a way to make it happen. So if anything, it sounds like more of the burden to find a solution is more on the person who's providing the means in the first place. because they are the one who knows what it truly costs. They always joke and say, whenever people from Africa ask you for $100, they don't know the value of that $100, right? Like in America, if somebody asks you for $10, it's already something. You'll ask questions, but back home, it's like money's almost nothing. So it's a little bit different for the person who's providing to be able to understand what that value is. So yes, we can try to find solutions where it's creating those sort of economic means. It's challenging because it takes an entire mindset shift, even for us here that are already making money, who still want to be more independent. Even that jump takes a mindset shift. So you can only imagine the people who don't have means to now realize that they should have their own. That's a mindset shift in itself. So it's a little bit complex. I would just say overall, you have to kind of try a little bit of everything and see what works. Whether it's trying to find a means with those people who are willing to actually set up something back home that works for them or a certain group of people, whether it's having to say no to those that are not of that mindset, but also don't know how to let go. So it's just finding the means that's actually going to work, because at some point, like you were saying, Barack, it can't go on forever, because it's so much of a strain on that one person that it's unfair, to say the least, right? It's going to drain them to the point where at the end of the day, if that person is now lost, was it really worth it? And the worst part would be if that happens and those people don't see value in that. They'll just say, oh, well, that's too bad. But now who's going to be the next person? So
I'm not taking that fall by myself, bro. Like, I'm including my siblings in it. And if we all decide that we're not doing it, let's all emotionally face that, that path together. Or let's face providing together. You know what I mean? So I just include everybody. Especially when, I feel like I don't want to do it by myself. I just, create a group chat. Yo, y'all trying to help out? It's 6 of us, right? If the minute I get 4 no's, well, too bad, right? We tried. I mean, we tried. Well, I tried. So,
Yeah, it's true, AK. I think you nailed it there. Because in my case, I have five siblings, right? So most of the time, it's never me. That's the good thing of having too many kids, right? Having many kids, where the burden gets shared evenly across. So what happens is we do come to the family group and we do agree, like, hey, we should send this amount, and everybody has to chip in probably $20-$30. It adds up really fast, honestly speaking. So it's never just me carrying that burden. That's why it has been going on for so long, and we're still struggling to cut it. I'm telling you, it's like an umbilical cord that you have to cut, and we're struggling to cut that umbilical cord because it's kind of inherited. Where my dad was, his dad's successor, and I am my dad's successor. With I my kids, honestly, not what is going to happen is my kids will not be able to do that because they don't have a sense of those ties that I do have growing up back home. For that part, I know that that's what's going to happen, because it'll be hard for me to sit and explain to my kids or my son that, hey, you have to send money so and so and so. Honestly, then I don't care how you explain it to them. That's why Tutu is like, this is like strange to her, because honestly, Tutu, if you really grew up back home the way we grew up, where you were with siblings, you grew up with these people, right? And they were like your brothers and sisters. We eat, sleep on the same bed, share clothes, fight, argue, do things together, right? It's that umbilical cord, literally, that I'm telling you about, that is hard to cut. However, Therese, I think the toughest part, right, is the role that each person plays in their family, right? And the relationships, some of it really boils down into what kind of relationship did you have with those specific individuals back home. Because if y'all were never close, y'all were never together, y'all never played, you just knew them passerby cousins, of course, you can easily say no. You can easily just say, F them. I'm not going to send it this week. I'm not going to send it. There are times where I do not send money, honestly speaking, where I sit in my head, I'm like, why? I'm here killing myself, I'm probably DJing till probably 5 a.m. in the morning, getting home around 6 o'clock. I'm like, why would I take my money that I kill myself working hard to send it to some people that might end up drinking and, or use it for something stupid and not see the value Like Joe was mentioning that you can send them $100, they'll be like, what is this? You know. So some of them don't even see the value for that money. Or you send them $200, somebody will be like, why not send 500? You're like, what? You know, so yes, we really have to cut. We really have to sit down and be like, you know what? They will still survive. I've done it where they still survive. But after 2, 3, 4 months, 6 months go by, honestly, that guilt based on just who I am as a person, right? It always comes back to haunt me. It might be intentional or unintentional, right? Where I see it and I want to spend 2 grand on something, 3 grand. I might get a new computer. I might get a new Apple Watch. I might get a new something random that I don't. It's something that I want but I don't need. And you're like, hold on, if I just cut $50 and send to so and so, it might help do 1 or 2 things. So there's that, we're raised that way. I think it's really inherited in our DNAs. And I think that's what Teresa was mentioning, where it was instilled in us based on where we come from. And that's what is hard to cut that tie. And I think as generations go by, I think it's going to stop because our kids are not going to understand because of the way they grew up to have that connection with back home. And that's where they'll be like, I'm sending them my $200. I'll go buy some new Jordans or I'll go buy some new Nikes. I don't even know them. They don't even call me. So I think as we're getting older, we'll see that season it will stop happening. I can see that happening.
I think that's like, I agree with what you're saying, just off of that aspect. So like, don't get me wrong. I am, out of like all of my siblings, it's 5 of us too. Out of all my siblings, I'm the one with the biggest heart. Like I'm the one that if they need something, I'm going to be like, but I had to learn to say no. Like I'm not about to feed into this because at the end of the day, now you're depriving me of a situation because of what you got going on. So it's not like I'm not trying to see like, okay, this is what you got going on. But sometimes like, I know there's been a time before my mom was like, oh, I need to send this back home to your auntie. I'm like, hell no, you're not getting no money from me because she don't talk to me. Like, what am I sending her money for? Like, it's just stuff like that. She's just like, oh, no, like, these people pray for you, this and I'm like, that's nice and all, but like, no, I'm not about to sit there and do that. You're about to deprive me of money because somebody's in it. Now, like I said, if I have it, okay, cool, I'm gonna do that. But also to go back to that like sense of like, because my parents, and one thing I will give my parents, and I really appreciate the fact about it, is that I think that my parents have done a good job, or I would say more, my dad has done a great job in letting his burdens be his burdens and not our problems. You know what I'm saying? So it's like my dad has never came to us and been like, oh, can you send $100 to your auntie? It's never been that. It's always been like, hey, if y'all want to, I'm not forcing you. Daddy's not forcing you. It's whatever you guys want to do with your money. Your money is your money. And then sometimes I'll just be like, hey, daddy, here's $200. Go ahead and split it up how you want to and send it back home and just tell them, hey, I gave it to them. Things like that. So that's one thing I will always give like my parents, like they've always instilled their problems is not our problems. And another thing also, like when it comes to like family and siblings, like I said, it's 5 of us. When it comes to our siblings, like we so locked in that is like, if anything was to ever happen to any of like my siblings or when they have kids, like my older sister's kids or my younger brother's son or whatever, like I got you. Can you get it? Like those are my siblings, so that I can really hold you down. But when it comes to like other people or like back home and stuff like that, I'm just like, all right, y'all. And what you said, like the whole text message, it'd be text messages where it'd be like, or CJ was saying text messages like, hey, cuz, I heard you're coming, so I like this iPhone so and so. Like, bro, like, no, I'm not about to ask me how my day is, ask me how work is, stuff like that. So I don't know. I do understand, Brock, where you're coming from, where it's just like, but I also do feel like I do think that maybe that burden will stop eventually because us, the African Americans, we're gonna be like, all right, yeah, it's a wrap. Like my dad's problem is not your problems. Now I'm not saying it's gonna totally vanish. It might be a few of us that might be like, okay, I'm gonna help out, but I don't feel like it's gonna be as like important how it is right now.
What do you guys think about I think Trump in this new bill, he actually introducing like for all the folks, immigrants who are sending money overseas, you get taxed. I think 1 or 2% of how much you send. So that would kind of help with this kind of slowing down that tax, the black tax. But what do you guys think about that?
I don't think we'll do anything. Honestly, that no matter how expensive it gets, people will still will send if they have to send. Especially when people are sick, somebody is on the dying bed that needs support, that needs, financial support, or somebody. I'll give you an example. Like somebody gets captured, since we have this whole Cameroonian issue right now, and they need somebody to bail them out. Whether that bill is 10 billion, I think some people will still send it. But and I think it's a guilt that I think it was handed down, right? Where like Tutu was mentioning that, her dad never really got to her and be like, hey, this is what I want you, this is the expectation. My dad never told me that either. I never experienced it, honestly speaking. So this happened after he passed, right? I mean, I was too young actually for him to even try that, to put that on me, because I started working when he was still alive. I was still making money, but he never came to me like, hey, take $200 from your paycheck and send it to so and so. Never. The responsibility was on his head. It was never passed on to us. So this is stuff that gets inherited to us through, our culture. I think that's really what this really boils down to, right? Where it's not like they're forcing us, right? It's not like somebody has a gun to your head. Let me be honest with you guys. I'm not saying that somebody is making me do it, right? It's just the way we're brought up. T actually mentioned this, so it's like we're indoctrinated into it without us knowing it, literally. And looking back in my life, I can see that being the case, where, you know, they really look at who is the best fit for the position, and that's who they give it to. Being it's somebody that's responsible, somebody that has money, or somebody that has a big heart. Whatever case it is, it's tailored for you.
Any final thoughts or inputs to that black tax before we move on to the next thing? Cool. All right. Let's discuss well, since we're talking about black tax and you guys were mentioning inheritance, what are some cultural inheritance that you would like for your kids to pass down to your kids, or you would love to pass on to your cousins, nieces, nephews? You would love them to know, or Tutu, for you, like, what are some things that you would have really, wished that your parents instilled in you from the African perspective?
I would say language, like their tribal language. Like I could speak Creole, but their tribal language, I wish I knew how to speak that and understand, because I have some family members that only speak the tribal language. So I feel like that's one. I always had this, like, I always said this, and people would look at me crazy and be like, girl, what are you talking about? I always felt like if I was born in Salome, I feel like my life would be completely different. And not saying that, like, I feel like if I was born there, it would be, I don't want to say dope, but I feel like the way how I like take life and my perspective is different from now. Not saying that I take it for granted, right? But like my mom being like both my parents were born and raised there. My mom knowing how to cook. I know how to cook, but it's because my mom was like, come inside this kitchen. As I'm in this kitchen, you're gonna learn how to cook. You know what I'm saying? But like with her, she knew how to cook by the age of 9. And granted, that's not probably like maybe like the best she probably had to, because that's what she had to do. But it's also like certain things like that. I don't know, just being certain mannerisms, I guess, and like also being able to kind of I guess what we're having this conversation now. So just kind of seeing from y'all perspective and being in that perspective is very different from my perspective now. You guys get what I'm saying? So like, so I would say language, I would say mannerisms, some mannerisms. Yeah. So language and mannerisms, I would take those two top.
Yeah, I think it's a close second for me. Language and just a more in-depth knowledge of the history. It always seems like it's, it's passed down through stories, but how often do you remember those stories? And you only remember snippets or certain people's perspectives from what they experienced, but actually getting a chance to really know the history in depth, so that is something you can pass on, like having stable cultural aspects that you can pass on. Yes, we listen to the music, the food. I would have liked to have learned to cook more traditional food. That's for sure. Ate it every single day. That's not an issue to eat it, but to cook it is a whole different story. So probably just the food, the language, and the history parts.
Mhm. Let me spin this question a little bit for Therese.
I will no, don't spin it.
Hold on, Barack. Hold on. 1 second. Not sure what age you learned how to cook, T, but let's say, for example, you came here at the age of 3. What you know now in terms of cooking mannerisms from an African perspective, do you think you would have learned that growing up here if if your parents taught you that? Do you think you would have wanted to know? You'd have been interested to learn.
Let's say if my family dynamic was the same, I think I still would have. If my family dynamic stayed the same, even if I grew up here, I think I still would have.
Okay. Nothing would have changed. You would have still loved cooking. You'd have still had your the respect that you have right now with
Well, it may not have been the same, to be honest. Just because you've introduced new factors, right? Life is shaped a certain way based on the external stimuli that you have that affect you in certain ways, right? Now, if you take me from that environment and come here, maybe I would have learned how to cook somehow because I'm still gonna be me, but maybe I wouldn't. It's a 50-50% chance because here where I grew up, I started learning how to cook because we don't have no McDonald's. We don't have no whatever these other places are. And so it's either you cook at home or you cook at home, right? And if they task you with, okay, go ahead and make dinner, it started as a joke. I put some together and okay, you can do that. Okay, try this. And my mom never looked back. And so I was in there literally, I watch her cook, but I was in there literally putting things together by myself. If I go somewhere, I taste something what else did you add? I'll come home and I'll try it. So that was just me. But at the end of the day, if I was here and there was no food, she'd probably say, I'll bring McDonald's. And then I probably would not have learned how to cook. So.
Yep. And so piggyback off of that, that's somewhat in a sort like me. If my mom wasn't like, come inside the kitchen and watch me cook, it would have been, I probably wouldn't know how to cook. Cause it's not like here, well, it just depends. Like my mom was also like, you're a woman. You need to learn how to do this. You need it. So it's like, there was no way how my mom was just going to let me sit in the house and not know how to cook. So, but there are some parents that, okay, my parents are, their parents can be the most villages of the village people, like they be most country people, but they don't care to teach their kids how to cook. Cause it's like, okay, you're in America, you here, you got all this other stuff, you're gonna figure it out. So I don't know. I just feel like with that, when I say like the whole cooking and like mannerism things, I think had I had been, granted, yes, she taught me how to while I was here, but I don't know. But she nailed it on the head where she's basically like, if there's no food, there's no food. So it wasn't like, oh, she just chose not to. It was, she really had to. So yeah.
So let me ask this then. You two. T, you might see a big pot in the house and it might be normal to you. Like, say your mom cooks, right, with a big ass pot that might probably last a week. It might be normal to you. Tutu, is that normal to you?
A pot that lasts a week?
Like a pot of soup.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, now you're kind of seasoned in the wrong person to ask. But I was just wondering, like people who don't eat overnight food, right? Because I know, like, some of my friends, like, yeah, overnight food is a no for them. I'm like, dude, that's the best.
In what household?
Like, what
Not in my household. No,
like, it's the best.
no.
Like, you could even sleep 2 days. You know what I mean? And yeah, like it's very fufu. You know what I'm saying? Like, don't give me like hot fufu. I just know I wanted to go overnight. And
No. When my mom's done cooking, I'm even the one that has to dish them and put them and wash the pots and all that. Yeah. Nah.
okay. Going back, I think Barak, you wanted to answer that question. The three things from the African culture.
Yeah, I think Joe and Tutu and T mentioned it. I think the biggest one is, as they were talking, actually, what really blew my head or went through my head was how, Nigerians, right, even at the youngest age, I was thinking just Wizkid and Davido them, how they're able to make so much money speaking their dialect, right? And how valuable that really is. If I can have learned that, that's one thing that really gets to me. Like, I wish under my skin if I knew how to speak, my mother's tongue, my dad's tongue. I mean, I know snippets, but I really don't know, because I think that's what was lacking in our household, right? It was either pidgin English or English because of school. But that's one thing I really, really, I'm lost when it comes to the dialect, because it's so valuable. Because if you take me back to where we really come from, where in Cameroon they say Anintong is, we'll be lost because we don't have, our Nintongs buried where it's supposed to be, literally. So I think the language is number one. Number two is I definitely want to teach my kids. They have to learn, or they must eat the food. I don't care. This one is by force. They must learn how to eat. They're eating it now very well, because the way I enjoy it, that's the thing too about kids. They don't just listen to you. They watch you, what you do, how you act. It's a copy and paste. The way I enjoy the food there, they swallow that arrow, swallow that truth well, and they love it. And that's one thing I'm grateful for. The little experience I have of growing up in Cameroon, right? I'm literally seeing the value growing up now, and as I'm getting older, it humbles you so much that it takes you places that you don't know. And you know how, police officers might stop, an African and stop an African American. I swear to you, within a few seconds, the officer knows the freaking difference between African American and African. They know. So it's so fast. They can tell. And it's because of our identity, our accent, our tongue, and our mannerism, right? Those are the things that are keeping us grounded and safe in this country, So the language, the food, and the mannerism, those are the three big ones here.
Outside of that, T, what are the ones that you think are fading away from you that you really want to preserve?
I would say the language. I lost it.
Your native tongue?
Mm-hmm.
What is it?
What is what?
Your native tongue.
Oh, Mope.
You don't know what that is.
I mean, he asked, right? That's what it's called. My bad. I should have clarified.
Where is that located? Because I have never heard that one before.
That's my mom. My mom is Bakri.
Oh, okay.
My father was Bamiliki. That one I know
Very
nothing
strong
about. I know nothing about that side. But at least going around, it's funny because my mom she did not emphasize it at home, right? Using the mother tongue, but the majority of my cousins and stuff, like when you go back to the grandparents' house, that's all they could speak. So I go and I spent a lot of time there. So I picked up on it, not a whole lot, but I picked up on it because there's no English allowed in this house, period. And so everybody learned. That was the first language they learned before English. But unfortunately for me, I didn't. Then I moved to the US where I did not speak this. So even all the little I knew went away. But now I'm relearning. I'm trying to relearn the language. So
Now you have a use case to create an AI to speak your language for your village people.
I actually have been, you know what, I'll take us somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah. Joe, you Congolese, you lived in South Africa, in the US, man, all these different cultures in you, bro. Like, which ones don't you like? Which ones have you tried your best to adopt? And which ones are you keeping and letting go?
I'm actually gonna hark back to what Barack said. When I lived in South Africa, one of my regrets was not learning Zulu when I was there, and it's a Bantu language, so it's actually very similar to Chiluba, which is spoken in Congo. So it was one of those things. My dad was like, you're American, you learned English, that's all you got to worry about, the language of the world and business, blah blah blah. But when you overlook those things, you miss out on opportunities to connect. That's one of the things about language that's so powerful. It allows you to cross over certain barriers. It can help you in so many ways. You can seem out of place as a foreigner with an accent, but then speak the local language and suddenly, all those barriers are broken. So if anything, the thing that I want to let go of is that mentality of not wanting to embrace other languages, whether it's languages from back home, other cultures. It's a kind of untold superpower. The polyglots. Being able to speak fluently in different languages is important. And then obviously the things I'll hang on to is the little bit that I do have from my culture. You don't realize how much influence people have in your life. I find myself today listening to the same music my dad used to play in the house. You see in videos of when you were a kid, just things like that. So I'll retain the little bit that I have and probably try to learn more. The recipes. I told my mom, I said, look, write down some recipes, send them to me, of course, in true African nature. Oh, maybe I'll send you a video because, I just know it by head, or maybe the next time you visit, just come watch me do it. I said, no, just write it down so I can have a recipe list. But so that's on my to-do list. I need to start actually being able to cook traditional Congolese food because, you have to represent your culture. If people ask you about your culture, it's either can you dance the dance or can you cook the food? So, that's the part I want to get a hold of.
Well, can you dance at least?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not worried about the dancing.
Okay.
I'm going to a wedding in August. I will dance, but I need to learn how to cook.
Yeah. So, Tutu, you should take this one. How did you empower yourself to be an ambassador for Africa, being that you're born here, or how do you empower your nieces, nephews to be ambassadors for Africa if they so want to be? You came from the era of African Buddhist culture, right?
I did.
You probably never want to be associated with that. How did you come to, bypass that hump?
I don't know. I think it just kind of phased out. You just had to kind of take it as it goes. Cause I've been African booty scratcher, or you go to school smelling like fried fish or plantain. Oh, you got to smell. Did it like that? I've dealt with that. you're black and like certain hairstyles. Like I've been through it all, but I feel like I don't know. I just kind of I don't know how I got over it. I think I was just, and then I'm the type of person that I don't like disrespect. So me, I fight. So I used to be in detention in school suspension, but I mean, it kind of just, I guess as time went, now everybody's on the wave now, and that irritates me bad. Granted, okay, yes, everybody's okay, Afrobeats and this and that, but I'm just like, okay, we was African booty scratchers, and what was y'all doing? Don't come and jump on the wave now. But I feel like I don't know. I think my parents have done a great job instilling the African culture, Sierra Leone culture in me and my siblings. So sometimes my dad would even be like, "You go so hard for Salon, and you wasn't even born there." Like I would sit there and remember the independence, and I would be like, "Okay, I'm gonna wear this, I'm gonna wear that." And my dad is just like, "Okay," like so. I don't know. I think they've done a very good job just making sure that I know where I come from. Like Joe says, music that my dad was listening to. I'm just like, okay, all right, turn it off at the time. Now I'm like, Daddy, you remember this song? I'm playing it in the car and stuff like that. So I don't know, just in family, being close knit with your family, and just knowing that, I guess like you all you got for real, for real. Your family's all you got. So I guess that's what I would say.
You know, I can't leave this topic without asking this, right? Funerals, death. Are we still for sending corpse back home in 2025? What are our takes to that?
Please, we should free them. We should free this and just be buried here, please. So at this point, because that's a lot. I mean, I don't know. I guess it just depends also too, like maybe the person's request. I guess maybe you would just honor the request. But me, I've already told my parents. I've already told them, is you guys? I don't have the money to be sending you guys back home. So you guys find a place here, and that's what it just be. But I mean, I don't know. I guess, like I said, I think it's just a respect thing and just a request. If they really want to, then hey, go ahead. That's just a lot, though. It's a lot.
You have request money.
That's see, that's what I'm saying. No, that's true. For real. If you have request money, then by all means.
I feel like it ends up putting a strain, but on the other hand, sometimes it's needed. If the most of the family is back home, I don't see why they should bury someone here because the family should have a place where they can go grieve. But if the majority of the immediate family is over here, why are you taking this man to a village that nobody will go to? Because he said so. He's dead and gone. He's not going to know where they buried his body. I'm sorry, but you know.
Okay. See, even if the family is in Amberland,
What family? Who? Which one?
the
Are we
majority,
talking? Are we
the majority
talking
of the family,
children, wife, husband, siblings, or we're talking? Or that's where his father is from, type where he's coming from.
you say the majority, right? Where most of them are.
Yeah, of the immediate family.
Mm-hmm. Some immediate families are based in where the war zone is, and people are still taking the
Yeah, they don't. You don't have to go. They know themselves. They can generate like how to go and bury him. You can just go and drop it off at the airport, and they'll finish the rest. No, I'm not even trying to be funny. See why this guy's laughing. I've heard funerals. Things that I personally know. Yes, because you might go bury him and you end up being kidnapped. So they bring the cops, stay in the city, and the paysans take it to where it needs to go. Now that's why I'm saying that it's one thing to bury them in the city. Now everybody has run away from the village. Why are you driving 8 hours in the middle of the night to go and put him somewhere where nobody can go and see him? Just find a plot where everybody is in the city and put him there. Now he may be from the northwest, but you can't go to the northwest now. Why would you risk people going over there to get buried? But again, hey, that's not my cup of tea.
Some cultures are just crazy. Some people have to.
Yeah,
I don't understand it though.
Yeah, like my old, they say you must return, and anybody back to, to the village. I said, so who is the accountant? Who is keeping count? That's who I need to talk to. We need to strike some deals.
Like I said, he's dead. He will not even know where he's buried. And even if he knows, what's he gonna do about it?
The one that hurts me the most is when, the family head dies, or let me say, a dad passes away, and all the kids were raised in America, right? And they don't even know what you're talking about when you say take them to the village, and you're forced to go bury them there where the kids can never even see it. They can never go pray for him. They can never go cut the grass, sit on the grave and make a prayer, or go sit. I'm like, it's mind blowing. People are crazy.
Hence why my parents will be staying in the United States of America.
That's what they told you?
No, that's what I decided. That's what I decided. I ain't about to, because if it was up to my dad, I really feel like my dad would want to be buried in the village. And I'm just like, bro, I've only been to the village twice. I'm not going back over there. I only go with you. So it's like, I'm not about to do all of that. So, yeah. But then also, we don't even really have those. Do you guys have those conversations? Or have you guys had those conversations? Because me, I haven't had those conversations with my parents.
I do.
Sessions. Yes.
Yeah.
Huh?
In
I said, go ahead,
African
go ahead.
families, no.
Oh no, I just said I do. By already, my mom.
We usually have the conversation when they die.
Fact.
I already know what she wants for her funeral and everything.
Yeah. My mom has told me.
We talk about it.
Yeah.
What she wants, what she doesn't like,
Yeah.
how she would want it to go.
My mom has told me that. She just hasn't told me. No, I think my mom she wants to be buried here. She told me what colors everybody needs to wear and stuff like that. My dad, yeah, he just, I don't know.
My dad surprised me. I think it's also from his own experiences of having to be that person to now arrange, burials back home and whatever and things like that. He's like, don't even bother with all that. Just cremate me. You ain't got to worry about all that. And again, I think it's from learning, right? Like it's not easy, having to bury parents and siblings and things like that, whether it's the financial strain or logistics and all of that. So it makes sense. In his mind, he doesn't want to now put any strain on his family when that time comes. So
that's when people want to be, they want to use it as a black tax opportunity. Mm-hmm. Talking about let's build a new house for a funeral. I beg.
Yeah, I was going to say even
let's do this is 3 million, this is 4 million, just calling amounts to come and no, thank you very much.
The one that trips me the most is actually how long they preserve the body. The more like 3-4 months, then they gotta come ship it back home. I'm like, bruh, this is all for somebody who's dead, yo. Like,
no, I'm for that one. Keep it. If I'm not ready, keep it.
But I didn't
keep it till I'm ready to do what I need to do.
That's the thing, though. That's what
I'm not saying it's gonna be a month, but I need to get stuff together.
That's what I thought too. But apparently, every day that thing is in the morgue, that thing is racking up bills. So you get them in, get them out. Then you have to ship that. I heard them to ship it. Maybe it's changed now, but I heard starting cost is like $10,000 just to ship them. And then now you have to prepare all these like funeral arrangements back home and stuff like that. That's just a lot. Then you got people flying in from different places and stuff like that. You have to do no.
That's why you get funeral insurance.
Well, that's true.
Every person in the diaspora, if you're African, should get funeral insurance.
Which one is funeral insurance now? And at what point do you feel that anybody should jump on it?
As soon as you're here, you should be on it, because you can die young, you can die at 65, you can die whenever. How many of us have seen, you see someone who was a pharmacist, there's a GoFundMe, we're trying to raise money to send him back home. What was you doing? That's the least you can do to take away that burden from people. And then you have the audacity to say you want to be buried back home. What money did you keep?
The black tax that they were taxing.
You have family that money could have gone to. We could have raised that GoFundMe to put put it towards your children's education or something. Now we have to raise this money to pay the airlines to take you back home. Should have got your funeral insurance.
Is it different from life insurance?
Yes.
Okay.
That one just specifically pays for transporting your body back home. Covers just pain.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Okay. Okay.
Some of these insurance are scams.
That's on you. If they scam you, you should do your due diligence.
Because here's the thing, right? Some people say do term, some people do whole life. And it's almost like paying insurance for your car, right? And you never have an accident. Where's the money do I get every month for the non-accident months?
That's the funny thing with this one. It's kind of not like that because the money that you put in goes to other people's funerals.
Can that be same like the money?
So the one that I'm in, we get like monthly reports and everything. How many deaths were done and how much was spent and how much was this. This is how much we've contributed so far. So if it's not your turn, it's somebody else's. And if you get, for some reason we have less people die, for example, and you do happen to have a rollover, that rolls into next year. It's just a cycle. It's not a whole lot of money, but hey, it's part of that community thing that we do where, okay, if you're in this thing, thousands of people put together, then, for a month we can have the one that was one time had like 15 deaths. That's like 15, 20K each. So everybody's money goes towards that. And when it's your turn, their money will go towards it too. So it's not like car insurance where you just lose your money altogether. It is going towards someone else's funeral.
So it's like in Salon, we call it Osusu. Where you're putting money in, but then you also get the money. Like Osusu is done like you put money in, maybe 200 or 250 and then 500. And then when your turn comes, you now get the money. But it's funeral.
Yeah, but it's not equivalent because the Osusu what you put in is what you get out. But in the insurance, it's not what you put in is not technically it's not what you get out.
Right.
So wait.
Because if you're paying $60 a year,
Oh, okay.
That's
Okay.
And depending on how much you enter in for, if you want more, if you want to do 200 a year or something like that, that's it. In 10 years, in 10 years, he probably would have. That's not even up to 20K.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's charity / insurance.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
I use the word insurance loosely. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
But it's a whole registered organization and everything. They have the whole, what they call it, title. What's that thing? Yeah.
Got it. Anyways, we've been going at it. Not going to bring up the next topic. I think we could kill it here. Anything else we'd like to add? Subtract?
I'm broke. Black tie.
All right, conclusions. Let's hear it. Joe. Go.
Like I said, it's all about perspective. It's not easy. And definitely those who are tasked with being those in the family that are individuals who give back. It's not easy. You shouldn't necessarily feel bad about it. You give to the extent that you can give, but if necessary and it's time to pull the plug, find a reasonable means to do so. People will survive. And truly at the end of the day, because it's like, the saying goes, give a man a fish, you'll feed him for a day, give him a fishing rod, you'll feed him for a lifetime. But the distinction or the choice is not always yours to bear. You can only do what you can with what you have. So we'd all like to give those who are in need proverbial fishing rods so that they can be self-sustaining, but that might not always be the case. sometimes all we can do is give a fish. But even when we can't do that, maybe they will, in their own way, find a way to sustain themselves. So don't bear the burden indefinitely.
Yeah. So T, what's your own?
I think for anyone who is in a situation where you get to be do black tax, be honest with yourself while you're doing it. Because the flip side of that, as much as it's a burden, as much as it's an obligation, is why are you doing it? Are you addicted to saving people? Because let's not lie, it feels good to be that person who makes shit move. We cannot even pretend about that piece. As much as it's a burden, where you see, because in our African culture, if you are the mover and the shaker, trust me, they will make you feel good. You show up at a family gathering, everybody's shaking in their boots. They put you somewhere, they give you some kind of respect. That shit can get addictive. So be honest with yourself. Why are you doing this? Are you still doing it because you want to keep your savior mentality? Or are you really doing it because, like out of the goodness of your heart? That depends on whether or not you will get your blessing. Just because you go and you swipe your card left, right, center, I don't mean you get a blessing. So be honest with yourself.
Yeah. And when you are, just see yourself as, being God's representative or representation. So yeah. And don't tax yourself after. Anyways, Barack, what's your own?
T said it all.
She sure did.
Yeah.
She sure.
Honestly, yeah. We really seriously have to look upon ourselves and be like, how are you helping them, to grow and mature if you really keep feeding them and not, guiding them to fend for themselves, literally, because it gets to a point where every human being has to carry their own burden, go through pain and suffering like everybody else. Yeah, it might be that. Yeah, but because honestly, we have to take care of ourselves first before we can take care of others. And I think most of the time people take care of other people and forget themselves, and when until they die before it hits home, because you can really die thinking that you can save the world, because and to be honest, you might try saving the world and nobody's coming to save you, so I think she's so right. We have to look into our hearts and be like, even if you have a good heart, even if it's the right thing to do, you really have to do some soul searching and be like, at some point, these people need to start carrying their weight, or they will take you before your time. Because honestly, your family, your immediate family, your wife, your kids, those are your priorities. The other ones, honestly, the Lord shall help. The Lord shall provide. Honestly speaking. Yeah, because even if you're not there tomorrow, life will still move on without you. So that guilt, honestly, because it's an African thing. I'll not lie. It's an African cultural mentalism that we need to suppress a little bit because it will kill us. That's really it for me.
Yeah. So, Tutu, wait to be on.
It's okay to say no. You ain't gotta do shit. Simple. It's all right. Just like T said, everybody want to be Captain Save-A-Ho. When you do Captain Save-A-Ho, then you also put yourself in a predicament. So it's okay to put your foot down and say no. They will, like T said, they will find a way. When you tell them no, somehow, some way, they're gonna make it work.
To some of you who growing up, you used to beg a lot, and now you got it. Maybe this is your own time to give back to. So give back. You used to beg a lot, so now it's your own time. Give back. But for those who, that everything that was said here pertain to you, hey, like they said, it's okay to say no. It will not hurt. No way, shape, or form. They will not turn red. Like Barack where he gets mad. But anyways, thank you all. If you've made it this far, greatly appreciate it. Please leave comments, questions, concerns, join the conversation. You know, if you have any questions for any of us, man, put it in the comment section, man. You know what I mean? If there's anything that you think we said that didn't sit well with you, let us know as well. You know, we'll love to sound corrected for sure. Anyways, appreciate you guys, Barack, Joe, Tutu, T. Thank you guys again. And this is my Central Podcast. We are outie. Catch you next one. Peace.